I've done many dumb things in my 40 plus years of life, especially when it comes to the category of money. But you know the old saying, making mistakes simply means you're learning faster. So in that spirit, in today's video, I want to share with you 9 of my dumbest money mistakes. Mistakes that I definitely learned tons from, and I hope you can glean some wisdom from it as well. Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. My first dumbest money mistakes happened during my college years, and that was that I carried credit card debt. I remember my first week of college at the University of California, Irvine, over 20 years ago. I was walking through the campus student center, so excited to finally call myself an adult and a college student. In the corner of my eye, I saw some booths giving away free swag, so I eagerly ran over to learn more. They told me that if I just filled out some forms, not only would I get a free t-shirt, but a credit card with my school's logo on it. Being the naive college student that I was, I signed up without thinking twice. This was my first foray into the scary world of financial industry complex. I did not know the first thing about credit cards or loan interest. It was never taught at school. All I knew was that adults use credit cards and I wanted to join the ranks. As you can guess, just a few months later, after having paid only the minimum payments, I was holding thousands of dollars in credit card debt. I learned through the hard way the brutal lesson of accrued interest. Though I never got myself into credit card debt again, this experience gave me a glimpse into the scary part of debt and how it can easily trap you if you don't have good financial literacy. My second dumbest money mistake came about when I started living on my own in my early 20s. I bought rent-to-own furniture. When I was 23 years old, I had a chance to rent my own personal apartment. No roommates, no sharing a bathroom, a place just for myself. However, I didn't have any furniture to fill it with. So as a naive 22-year-old, I casually walked into the closest local furniture store nearby, ready to buy whatever they had to offer me. That day, the furniture store was offering a 0% financing for the first 6 months, and I practically leaped at the offer to buy more furniture for less money. Or so I thought. I walked out of that store with way more furniture than I needed. All I really needed was a bed and maybe a couch. Yet by the time I was done, I had a full dresser set, a dining table for 4, and even a TV stand for a TV I didn't even own. And I spent the next 2 years paying down these expensive furniture via interest that eventually ran up to 8%. What I should have done was bought only furniture that I could afford with cash at the time. That would have not only limited my purchase, but saved me from the excruciating interest payment I was forced to make later. My number 3 dumbest money mistake occurred more than once in my 20s, and that was that I overspent on my housing. Going back to my earlier example of disastrous furniture shopping, the reason I was so tempted by the rent-to-own furniture scheme was because I had over-rented a place. It was just myself at the time, but I rented a place that could have easily fit a small family. A separate bedroom, a den, and a full kitchen. It's not to say that we shouldn't live in a nice place, but it should fit within our affordability criteria. At the time, because I was so eager to show the world how successful I was, I rented a place that ate up almost half of my meager income. And the sad fact was that no one really cared what kind of place I lived in. As a 23-year-old not making much money, I should have gotten roommates. Or because I was in the military at the time, opt for on-base housing, which would have been much cheaper. My number 4 dumb money mistake was that I invested in actively managed mutual funds instead of low-cost, broad market index funds. I remember the first time I met with a financial advisor. He knew I knew nothing, so I was like a hen walking into a wolf's den. He would throw out all these fancy financial terms and I had no idea what he was talking about. And feeling more and more insecure about money, I just took his advice as the truth. Within a matter of just a few hours, he had signed me up for multiple actively managed mutual funds. It wasn't until close to a decade later that I realized I was paying ridiculous fees. Fees that weren't compounding my wealth, rather were going into the fat pockets of these investment advisors. Investing can feel intimidating, and the financial industry has done a fabulous job of making us feel this way. However, don't be. We can all beat majority of the active managed mutual funds by just investing in a few low-cost, broad market index funds. To get you started, here are just a few of my favorites. If you're investing with Vanguard, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, aka VTSAX. The Vanguard 500 Index Fund, aka VFIAX. If you're invested with Fidelity, the Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, aka FSKAX. The Fidelity 500 Index Fund, aka FXAIX. And if you're invested with Charles Schwab, Schwab S&P 500 Index Fund, aka SWPPX. Schwab Total Stock Market Index Fund, aka SWTSX. All these funds are variations of the total market or the S&P 500 index, and all excellent equity funds to hold in your portfolio. If you'd like to learn more about how to construct your own 3-fund portfolio, one of the most popular investment portfolio strategies, please check out my video here. My number 5 dumb money mistake was that I bought myself a brand new car. Now, there is nothing wrong with buying and enjoying a brand new car. The key is to buy it, like anything else, when you can really afford it. The problem with my situation was that I bought one when I was 24 years old and I didn't have much money. At the urging of a few friends who were indulging themselves with new cars themselves, I bought a custom-built Volvo S40, all financed with high interest debt. Cars, unlike other assets like home, are naturally a depreciating asset. A new car can lose up to 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. And it doesn't stop there. On average, a car will lose about 11% of its value every year for the first 5 years. So the new Volvo that I bought at the time for close to $30,000 was worth less than a quarter of the original value when I sold it 7 years later. If you're young and in your 20s, don't be a fool like me. Wait to buy yourself a new car when you can really afford it. Don't buy it thinking it'll be an asset in your books, and for sure, don't buy a new car to impress people. My number 6 dumb money mistake occurred when I was in my late 20s in graduate school, and it was that I took on $87,000 of student loans. Now again, there's nothing inherently wrong with taking on student loans. As long as you're intentional, aware of what you're getting yourself into, and are getting a degree that is financially productive. The problem with me was that I wasn't very smart about my approach. If I was smart, I could have figured out a way to reduce my overall student debt, whether by reducing my cost of living or seeking employers that would subsidize the cost of my program. I mistakenly thought that I could easily pay it off once I started making the big bucks after my MBA program. Little did I know how hard paying back $87,000 of student loan would be. Thankfully, I was able to get my financial house in order after marrying my wife, and we were able to pay back our combined $105,000 student loans within 3.5 years. But it was a hard 3.5 years that I would never want to repeat again. My number 7 dumb money mistake was my expensive wedding. If you can believe it, I spent close to $40,000 for a one-day event. Wait, actually, a half-day event. And don't mistake this as saying I'm talking about my marriage, because despite all the dumb things I've done in my life, marrying my wife was probably the smartest thing I've done. Now, if she thinks the same way about me is still up for debate. Partially due to social and cultural expectations, I threw a very lavish wedding. And to be transparent, I don't think there's anything wrong with a lavish wedding. I thoroughly enjoyed mine and will cherish it for the rest of my life. The issue is, can we really afford it? And are we approaching it with a financially astute lens? If we know we have a major event or an expense coming up, a good financial habit is to anticipate it and save for it, or level set the event to what we can afford. I did neither. Knowing that I had a major event coming up, what I should have done was cut back on my regular expenses such as housing and transportation to save up more. And I couldn't save $45,000, then think what areas of the wedding I could cut back on without making a significant impact on the event itself. If you're looking to tie the knot in the near future, don't do what I did. Be smarter, plan ahead. My number 8 dumb money mistake was that I waited too long before contributing to my retirement plan. Though I started investing in my Roth IRA early on, I didn't start investing into my 401k until my 30s. 401k, to be honest, sounds very boring. It doesn't have the same exciting tone as cryptocurrency or digital art. It probably reminds a lot of us of our parents. But 401k is one of the most effective ways to lower our taxable income and put more money into the market. I have personally saved thousands of dollars per year on my taxes just from maxing out my 401k. Also, with most employers, they offer a match to your 401k contributions, a 100% return on your investment. For example, let's say that your employer matches 100% of your contributions up to 4% of your income. If you make $100,000 a year, when you contribute $4,000 into your 401k, your employer matches you dollar for dollar another $4,000. You're essentially making a 100% return on your investment instantly. For both in order to reduce your taxable income and to get the match, if you aren't tapping into your 401k, start doing it today. In 2023, the contribution limit for anybody under the age of 50 is $22,500. If you're age 50 or older, the contribution limit is $30,000. My number 9 dumb money mistake was that I went overboard when it came to spending money on kids, especially when they were younger. Having kids is probably one of the most life-transforming events many of us can have. From my personal experience, it was more stressful than my first job and even more than getting married. You have this new being that comes into this world that is completely dependent upon you, and your life is no longer just your life. You also need so many new gadgets to take care of this new being. A stroller, a car seat, baby carrier, the list goes on. Or that is what we think based on what we see on social media. Overwhelmed by parenthood and the desire to do things right, I became price insensitive and went overboard everything related to babies and kids. When it came to a stroller, we couldn't just get the basic model from Amazon. We needed the one with 360-degree turn capability and frame made of titanium steel. When it came to a baby carrier, we scoffed at the parents that bought the off-the-rack brand and proudly displayed our custom-ordered silk and satin carrier. Looking back, I'm quite embarrassed not just of my choices, but my attitude. Kids don't need expensive equipment to be safe and happy. My kids are older today, and most often, all my son needs to be happy is a $10 soccer ball, and my daughter is perfectly fine with a $2 box of crayons. This one is a tough hurdle to overcome for many parents. But think twice before forking over $3,000 for that stroller. If you're like me, you might look back at yourself years later and just shake your head. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to learn more about terrible investing and money advices to avoid, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.